Hello again, people. It has been a while. It has been a hot minute since we have had land, not only in Bernalillo County, but in the enviable upscale East Mountain region, just east of Albuquerque. This new property, as you can see from the headline, has got utilities as well as private access to the Cibola National Forest, as well as stunning views of the nearby Sandia and Yemes Mountains. It's in the Five Hills subdivision. It's 1 acre. It's priced at $20,000. Learn all about it and more after the intro. All right, people, as always, we like to start these videos off by directing your attention to the GPS coordinates we have located halfway down this listing page and every listing page on the website. 4 corner points and a center, which when clicked will, through the magic of the internet, bring the property up on Google Maps. So first up, guys, it should be noted that the property sits over here where this pin is, roughly about 20, let's be safe and say 25 minutes east of Albuquerque. Easy ride back and forth here along Interstate 40. Now, I'm going to assume here at the outset that everybody who's watching this video, who's seriously considering buying land in this region, is probably already familiar with it, already familiar with Albuquerque. You probably live somewhere close, Albuquerque, Rio Rancho, Los Lunas, what have you. For the uninitiated, however, from Minnesota to Marrakesh and all points in between, let me briefly run through the facts. So first off, guys, this is Albuquerque. This is the largest cluster of population within the state of New Mexico. Of course, the metro Albuquerque, I believe, is a population of roughly about 560,000. When you include the unincorporated areas, that number goes up to a little under a million, roughly about 920,000 people. Of course, being that close to a major metropolitan area like that puts you within easy driving distance of museums and zoos and all sorts of attractions, dining, shopping, nightlife, concerts, sporting events, so on and so forth. Of course, let's not forget the annual Balloon Fiesta, which occurs every October in Albuquerque. Of course, New Mexico is very big on hot air balloons, but nowhere more than Albuquerque in October. That is when they have the giant Balloon Fiesta out there. Now, for the record, guys, here on the listing page, we have linked under our points of interest a number of attractions out here, but most notably, if you are unfamiliar with the region, things to do in Albuquerque, clicking this link will take you to TripAdvisor's website, where they will have a far more comprehensive database of all the things to do and see, places to go, places to eat, so on and so forth in this region than I can possibly cover in this video. So if you are unfamiliar, please take a minute, check this out, and you will be far better informed, I promise. With all that said, people, the subject property is located over here, as noted, about 20-25 minutes east of Albuquerque in the East Mountain region. Of course, the East Mountain includes Tierras, it includes Cedar Crest, it includes Cedillo, and within those areas you have a number of what I am calling high-end residential subdivisions. Now, just to give you guys a sense, we zoom in here on the map. This property is located within the Five Hills subdivision. You can see this one labeled here on Google Maps. Additionally, there's Twin Pines very close by. There's Fisher Ranch. There's Cedillo Vista, so on and so forth. I'm actually kind of surprised that the subdivisions get named in this region and those names appear on Google Maps. But if you kind of eyeball the map here, you can see a number of these regions where developers came in, carved up really not that much land, less than 100 acres for many of these, and plotted out some parcels of land for residential development. Now, and just to give you guys a sense, the Five Hills development begins just here, just south of Interstate 40. It is roughly just this small area that you see here. And if we bring up the plat map right here, you can see that this is really the extent of the region. I believe there's no more than something like 58 lots out here, each roughly 1 acre in size. Of course, the subject property we're talking about today is Lot 26. This is a scooch more than 1 acre, 1.03 if we're splitting hairs, and it's got about 150 feet of road frontage here along San Pedro View. Now, I just want to go back to the map a second, guys. Let's just go to satellite view and just kind of zoom in on this. As you can see, this road right here is San Pedro View. You're coming in here off the highway on this Five Hills Road. Five Hills Road is sort of the major road that goes through the subdivision, the major one of, let's say, 3 roads that go through the subdivision. When we zoom in here, of course, you can start to get a sense of all the residential development that is out here. And of course, these are some pretty nice homes. These are some pretty nice custom-built, high-end homes, probably in the mid-6 figures. Anyway, of course, as always, people, we've got photos not only of the property, but of the subdivision itself. And if you go to the photo gallery on our listing page, you will be able to see, amongst other things, the entrance right here to the Five Hills community. Of course, photos like this give you an excellent sense of exactly how well maintained a region this is, of how exactly, let's say, exclusive, a little bit upscale this area is. You've got the community mailboxes, you've got the community bulletin board, and additionally, you've got a lot of really nice custom-built homes out here. Anyway, if you look at the neighboring home sites, it gives you a sense of what you can do, what you can build out here. Also gives you a sense of what you can't do and what you can't build in the region. Of course, it should be noted that this area is zoned almost exclusively for residential development. There are very few exceptions to that. So you could do a single-story home like this, you could do a two-story home like this, but for the most part, the area is designed with residential development in mind. Now, I'll hop back to that topic in a second, guys. I just want you to notice that with these home sites that we're showing you, you don't see power lines out here. That, of course, is because the property sits in an area where there's an emphasis on maintaining the beauty of the surrounding region. So power lines are not necessarily something that they want throughout the community. Of course, all these home sites are serviced by underground utilities. Of course, that's not only power, that's also cable, it's also phone, it's also internet, so on and so forth. Services provided by a combination of Nevada Power and Quest, I am fairly certain, within this region. Anyway. Of course, aside from that, guys, you've also got water lines throughout the area, as exemplified here by these fire hydrants. Of course, the fire hydrants not only are here to help serve the neighborhood, but also because it sits in such close proximity to the Cibola National Forest. And of course, if a fire breaks out, we want to knock that off pretty quick. So fire hydrants really all throughout the area. Anyway, guys, it should be noted, water meter here on the subject property. It should also be noted that, as you saw in the photos, there's paved roads really all throughout the region. The subject property sits just a little bit shy of where the paved road ends out here. And actually, if you kind of zoom in on the map, you can see paved road ends really right here where San Pedro meets Happy Hollow. And of course, the subject property is just about 200 feet south of that. So realistically, of course, you'll be able to access the property in really any vehicle type. All these roads are very easy to manage out here. Anyway, this is the intersection here of San Pedro and Happy Hollow. And this is the subject property. Even, when you're on this sort of dirt gravel road, this is very well maintained. Anyway, guys, just hopping back to the topic of residential development for a second. To be clear, guys, these are not recreational properties. This is not the kind of property where you're going to RV or camp for indiscriminate periods of time or even brief periods of time. That is frowned on in these neighborhoods. Number one. Number two, of course, this is not the type of property you're going to be able to put an earthship home on or probably even a tiny home. A shipping container home is probably acceptable as long as it's built up to state building regulations, state building codes, etc. But the point is, guys, that if you are looking at these properties seriously, you should be aware that this really is just for residential development. And of course, there's not only an eye toward development, but an eye toward upscale development. A number of photos from the property as well as the surrounding region. Just a kind of couple things that I want to point out here. Number one, at the end of the gallery, you'll see with the telephoto shots some of the nearby surrounding views of the Sandia as well as the Yemes Mountains. And additionally, with the drone shots, of course, we give you an excellent sense of the property, the general footprint of the land, the terrain, and the surroundings. As you can see, it's very close. I mean, we saw this on the satellite view on the map, but very close to a lot of the surrounding home sites that are over here. Some well-developed, nicely built-up residential area. This house looks very nice, actually. And of course, perusing this, you get a sense of exactly how picturesque this region is. With all that said, guys, I just want to pause on this photo and just kind of direct your attention back to the map here. One of the major selling points to this, which we teased in the headline, is that the property sits in very close proximity here to the Cibola National Forest. I mean, realistically, it's, within the boundaries of the forest itself. But that being said, this San Pedro view, of course, is a little bit of a cul-de-sac road. It dead ends really right here at the entrance to the forest. And down here, if we follow Five Hills Drive, this one actually provides a kind of private entrance, private pathway down here into the forest. So, of course, just right here, basically in your backyard, is the Cibola National Forest, a ton of land that you can, of course, hike and camp and go horseback riding in. And, of course, one of the big benefits of that is because it's a national forest, it's not going to be developed anytime soon, if ever. So, of course, the views that you're purchasing today, the sort of picturesque privacy that you're purchasing today, will remain with the property for years and years and decades to come. All right, people, with all that said, I want to direct your attention up here to the property-specific notes at the top of the page, where we have some helpful information for anybody who's considering purchasing a lot like this, and particularly developing a lot like this. Most notably, guys, I want to direct your attention to the covenants and restrictions down here for the Five Hills community. Now, it should be noted that for however posh, however she this neighborhood may be, shockingly, they do not have an HOA. Hence, ergo, they do not have annual dues either. They do, however, have some covenants and restrictions, which we showed you earlier in that picture of the bulletin board. Now, just speaking of the bulletin board for a second, we reached out to what I will call community leaders in Five Hills, and we asked them when we were trying to research the whole HOA issue. They said they don't have an HOA. They said that if they ever need to raise money for anything, they just put a little ad on the bulletin board. That's the extent of it. That's how formal it is, or informal, I should say. Whatever the case, guys, anybody who is going to develop a lot out here should familiarize themselves with a little bit of covenants and restrictions that they have in this region, and of course you can do that by clicking this link right here. Again, through the magic of the internet, the PDF will come up here. Now, a couple things, guys. As always, we don't like to buy properties in regions where the restrictions are too onerous. These are, once again, what we call reasonable, logical, good neighbor restrictions. These are the sorts of things that really anybody would find agreeable, again, unless you're a real jerk. So, let me go through the list here. First off, guys, the parts that are going to answer a lot of questions for you guys begin at point number 6. No livestock except household pets or riding horses shall be kept on the premises, and under no condition shall any chickens or other poultry be kept on said premises. This, of course, is important because it does have the exception here of the horses being that close to the Cibola National Forest. Of course, we're close to a lot of riding trails out there, so that's probably why that exception exists. Point number 7, no business, trade, or offensive activity of any kind shall be carried on, blah, blah, blah. That basically means the lots are for residential purposes, not for business purposes. Continuing with the theme of residential development, point number 8, no trailer, basement, tent, shack, garage, or other outbuilding erected on any lot shall be at any time used as a residence, temporarily or permanently. So that, of course, is an important thing to know here, is that no trailers. You can't have trailers out there. Additionally, typically with building permits, they usually allow for some sort of temporary structure that you have to live out of while the permanent thing is being built. That may actually not be the case here. This may be one of the few places in which that exception exists, so just something to be aware of. Point number 9, the ground floor area of the main structure or any residential lot, exclusive of porches and garages, shall be no less than 1,800 square feet. Basically, the minimum square footage on whatever you build out there has to be at least 1,800 square feet. That's the translation. Point number 10, all buildings are to be finished within 9 months from the start of construction. So again, a lot of you guys ask about time limits on building. You buy the land, you do nothing with it the first 50 years, that's fine. The minute you put a shovel in the ground, that's when the stopwatch starts. That's when we start timing you. You've got 9 months to finish the project. Now, realistically, what happens when you exceed that time limit? Not much probably, but nonetheless, we like to make you aware of that. Anyway, guys, I'll let you review the rest of the points on your own time. One thing I do want to point out to you here is that point number 13, all buildings on all residential lots should be of good architectural design, and the architectural style shall be a type which is typical of New Mexico. Permissible styles include, and then it doesn't say anything. It doesn't tell you what those permissible styles are. Now, as these covenants do not enumerate any sort of architectural control committee, that says to me that nobody's really, monitoring that super closely. That being said, again, the home sites that we showed you earlier, just looking at these will give you a sense of certainly what's permissible out there, what you can do, what you can build, etc. Of course, the covenants are one thing. In an area like this, the zoning is another very important thing to familiarize yourself with. Here on the table, we've got a link. This is Bernalillo County defines this region as an A2 rural agricultural zone, and per the zoning ordinance, that is, quote, to preserve the scenic and recreational values in the national forests and similar adjoining land, to safeguard the future water supply, to provide open and spacious development in areas remote from the available public services, and to recognize the desirability of carrying on compatible agricultural operations and spacious home developments in areas near the fringes of urban development. That very well defines the East Mountain region. Whatever the case, guys, if you click on this link, the A2 zoning designation will take you to this PDF where you can read a little bit more about that. Of course, there are some restrictions that are not enumerated in the covenants that are kind of defined here. There are some restrictions that are defined here that are also defined in the covenants. Basically, what I have explained to you at this point, which is that it's a residential lot. It's not to be used for commercial purposes. You're to build a home on it, not a trailer, not an earthship house, so on and so forth. These excerpt from the zoning PDF is going to basically reiterate what I've told you at this point. But you are encouraged, of course, to read this over. And of course, if you do have any specific questions about developing the property, reach out to Bernalillo County Planning and Zoning. You're going to be able to get them on the phone a lot faster than you can anybody from this community. So, of course, Planning and Zoning is going to be the better sort of guide for how exactly you can develop the property. Anyway, finally, guys, guys, do want to mention, we talked about utilities out there. We talked about water service, that it is available out there. Of course, this region is serviced by, as far as power goes, PNM, that services most all of New Mexico. Of course, you've got their website that we link on the listing page. We've also got the Entranosa Water and Wastewater Association. This is the organization that brings water to, I believe, pretty much all of the East Mountain region. I think there's a lot of parts of East Mountain where they don't want you drilling for water, where they don't want wells drilled at. So Entranosa, of course, is the company that brings drinking water, bathing water to all the very nice home sites that you see in this region. My supposition is that if you are going to develop land out here, you've probably got a contractor who's working for you. They're probably way more familiar with any of these rules and restrictions or how exactly a lot of this works, cost, logistics, etc. If, of course, they are not, or if you would like to learn more about it, you can reach out to these individual companies, and you can get a better sense of exactly, hey, I'm looking to develop a home site out here on the East Mountain. What do I need to know about getting power connected on my property? How expensive is that? What's involved? So on and so forth. Same questions, of course, apply to water and waste disposal. So before we wrap this video up, there's one last thing I want to show you guys, which is comps. I want to talk about comps in this region. Now, obviously, $20,000 is a lot of money. It's a lot of money to spend on a mere 1 acre of land. Generally speaking, when we buy and sell land in New Mexico, we don't normally see those types of price points, or price per acre, I should say, with the listings that we normally have. When we were offered this property, what is now a couple months prior to the recording of this video, I looked at comps in the region because I was wholly unfamiliar with it. And what I found were a lot of 1 acre lots that were priced at $25,000, priced at $30,000. So I thought, well, if we're going to buy this, we have to be able to sell it for $20,000. I want to be able to beat those comps. If you eyeball Zillow, if you eyeball Redfin, if you look at comps in this region, what I'm seeing right now is there's not a lot that remain, but the few that do are priced markedly higher than ours. And there's two that I want to just kind of draw your immediate attention to of what's listed on Zillow at the time of this recording. This is a 1.2 acre lot for $30,000, and this is a 1.03 acre lot, exactly the acreage we're offering, also for $30,000. Now, what is even more notable about these properties is that they are located respectively at 47 San Pedro and 41 San Pedro, which means they are on the exact same road as our property, a 1 acre lot priced at $20,000. They are right here somewhere. So I think that illustrates exactly how competitive the pricing is on this particular property, but I would encourage you guys, look around, look on the MLS, look on Zillow, look on Redfin, see if you can find anything that actually tops this. I would be surprised if you can. With all that said, people, if you would like to purchase this property, you'll be glad to know that number one, we closed on it through New Mexico Land and Title, which means we got title insurance, and number two, we will be providing you with a warranty deed. The way that you initiate this process is by coming up here to the top of the page, clicking the Buy Now button. It'll take you to this secured checkout where we ask for a non-refundable, people, let me say it again, non-refundable $500 earnest money deposit to be placed at checkout. Now, to be clear, guys, this is not a property that has any financing offered. This is not a property where we're doing monthly payments. This is a property where we expect you to have the entire $20,000. So if you do not have the entire $20,000, you should not initiate this transaction. For those of you who do, however, here's the way it works. Give us the name for the contract, name for the deed, as well as the tax address. Come down here, agree to the terms of service, click next, and on the very next page, you can enter credit or debit card information to place the $500 deposit. To be clear, guys, this is this is an expensive property. This is $20,000. Anything really north of $10,000, we encourage our buyers to close through a title company. Of course, you don't have to do that. It's up to you. But when you're buying a property like this, particularly something that you're going to be building, presumably either building a pretty nice custom home on, number one, or number two, holding as an investment property, you're going to want title insurance on it. Now, if you're unfamiliar with how that whole process works, if you've never worked with a title company before, you'll be glad to know that on the listing page, we've got this notes about purchasing, which kind of goes in a little more detail here, but more helpfully, it links you to some pages on the website, which will go into even greater detail about this process. The first one is called How It Works, Buying From Us. And if you go to that page, you can see exactly how this process plays out. Number one, we ask for the deposit. Once you do that, we're going to draft a contract. You sign it, we sign it, and we'll submit it to the title company. And the title company will do the rest, albeit slowly, over the period of roughly about a month. And in case you are at all skeptical about placing money before you see the contract that you'll be asked to sign, you'll be glad to know that we have a copy of our standard sale purchase agreement right here. You can click that and read through a generic version of what that contract looks like. It's pretty self-explanatory. One page for signatures, If you got a lawyer in the family, have them give it a look-see, but it's pretty self-explanatory. Additionally, guys, if you haven't been through the title escrow process before, you're probably going to have a lot of questions about it. You'll be glad to know we have a page on our website entitled Title Escrow Frequently Asked Questions page. So if you click on that, it'll take you to this page where pretty much every conceivable question we have ever gotten from a buyer or will ever get from a buyer is enumerated here. Questions about benefits, questions about potential drawbacks, timelines, schedule, logistics, so on and so forth. So give that a read. Anyway, with all that said, guys, glad to have another property finally in Bernalillo County, particularly in the enviable East Mountain region. I really like this one. I think it's got a lot of nice features, aside from just being in this sort of upscale community that a lot of people really try to find land in, try to buy homes in. It's also, of course, got the great views. It's got the easy access to the forest out here, which, of course, will provide endless hours of recreation possibilities. And, of course, it's in an area where you've got most all the city utilities out there or easily accessible. So I really like this one. I hope you guys do too. Thanks for watching, everybody, and we will see you in the next video.